The following program is an opinion program. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of this program are not the opinions of the management, staff, and advertisers of this station. Please direct all criticism, concern, and adulation to the hosts of this program.
Welcome to Alabama Politics. This week, I am Dale Jackson. I'm a radio talk show host. You can hear my shows Monday through Friday on WVNN in Huntsville from 5 until 9 a.m. and from 10 until 11. 1 hour and 1 hour only, the quickest hour in radio from 10 to 11 on Talk 99.5 in Birmingham. With me, as always, Mecca Music, the CEO of 256today.com. Smart news for smart people. I can't say it, but it's true. And remember, OTR on 256 Today. Check that out every Friday morning.
Off the record, Friday mornings.
That's what I said. OTR. What did I say?
That's fine. It was fun. Okay. No.
Smart news for smart people, I guess. All right, check that out. We got a lot to get into today. Jay Town will be here with us. He's the former U.S. Attorney, Northern District of Alabama, appointed by Donald Trump. We'll talk about some of the legal issues still with Trump and Biden and the other Biden, and then we'll talk about some other legal issues taking place here in the state of Alabama as well. I have a party shot with a dream ticket for 2024 that we might be seeing forming. Should be very, very exciting. We'll get to all of that. But right now, let's go ahead and get to the 2-minute warning. All right, Mecca, here we go. It is really simple here, and anyone that tells you anything other than what I'm telling you, anything you've heard from anyone else that is not what I'm saying is wrong, and the people think you are stupid. Do not believe them, because then you would be. Here's what we had happen here. For months, Tommy Tuberville said, I am not going to allow these votes to go forward on Pentagon nominees because I believe that the policy the Pentagon is pursuing on the issue of abortion or abortion tourism is illegal, a violation of the Hyde Amendment. I happen to agree with him on that part of the story. I disagree with him on his abortion position, but that's neither here nor there. He's saying you can't break the law. I'm going to stop that. Earlier this week, Tuberville said, hey, okay, this is important. Let's go ahead and get some of these people passed one by one. I got to get 16 different senators to get on board. He did that, ready to pass a commandant of the Marine Corps. Chuck Schumer saw that and goes, I better do something. So then he comes out and says, we're going to pass these 3 people. It says he did it, and then he was praised as breaking the Tuberville blockade. That is moronic. Mecca?
I think that this does provide Tuberville some relief with critics for his moves to say, because he has said, because he has said since the beginning, hey, this is what we can do. This is how it can unfold. Now, though, if I'm Schumer, you know what I would do? I'd be like, okay, we're going to do hundreds, all of them, one by one by one. We're going to stay here, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, boom, boom,
and
boom.
Tuberville will go, cool. Do it. I mean, the thing Schumer said that he was going to do, Tuberville said you could have done this from the very beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah. Schumer completely collapsed here. He completely collapsed, and it's pretty embarrassing for him, to be honest with you, because he should have done this on day one when Tuberville started this.
Exactly.
And said, no, we're going to do this anyway because this is more important. Instead, he waited, and then he did what Tuberville told him to anyway. Just a complete collapse by Schumer. Some are pretending that it is some sort of victory for Schumer. That is.
That's to be expected, though, depending on. Go ahead.
The kids call it cope. That's coping, is what that is. Am I wrong?
Thanks for telling me that.
Okay, I'm just saying, that's what the kids say. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about abortions in another form here in the great state of Alabama. Alabama has a very strict abortion law. It was one of those laws that was set up to challenge Roe v. Wade. Some in the Alabama legislature, when they pass, don't worry, we'll come back. We'll get to the rape and incest stuff. Don't worry about it. This is just being set up as a vehicle, and they never did that. In interviews in the last week, both Donald Trump and I almost said Chuck Schumer. Both Donald Trump and Joe Biden have both slammed Alabama's version of the law in various different ways, some more pointed than others. But the fact of the matter is, Donald Trump said it's terrible. Biden said it's the worst thing that's happened. We got to roll it back. Kamala Harris got involved. Nobody likes Alabama's abortion law. Neither of the guys running for president. So is that removed from the table as a topic of conversation in Alabama?
Oh, no. I think as far as Biden, that's on brand. As far as Trump, I think that they're positioning him to help him maybe more in the general election because he can't be hurt in the primary.
Yeah.
He just can't. I mean, remember, Trump used to be pro-choice before he was pro-life, and that doesn't bother any primary voters. This isn't going to bother them anyway.
Yeah, there's some talk in Iowa. Some people are feeling a little squeamish on what he's saying. There's been people involved closely in the pro-life movement who said, we're not a cheap date. You can't treat us this way and all this other stuff.
There's not enough of them.
Yes, they
can.
Exactly.
The
history says that Trump absolutely can treat them this way.
Will.
And it will be fine. Yes, he is looking towards the general. This, I think, is a clear sign that he sees that he's got the primary all locked up. And it's hard to argue that he's wrong. I mean, look at the numbers. You continue to see DeSantis has now slipped down to third in South Carolina. One of the arguments says we don't have a 50-state, national primary. It's individual. Okay, well, you got to at least do good in one of those.
At least one.
Yeah, and you're seeing Iowa talk of, at least if we finish second, we'll be good. That kind of stuff. That's loser talk. I mean, I'm sorry. That's how losers talk. I mean, it really is. You remember guys like Rudy Giuliani. Don't worry, we'll get him in South Carolina. Yes. It's like, no, you won't. That's not going to work.
That's funny.
I don't see that happening. So, both of them say basically similar position, not quite the same. Trump does want some restrictions. You can't figure out where the restrictions on the left are, and I think that's going to hurt them in the long run. Moving on, is Biden too old? Well, one guy seems to think so. Joe Biden. He came out this week and said that he is very, very worried that he will not live long enough to see all of his son's legal issues resolved. This comes from behind the scenes notes in reporting. And you know what? I think he's probably right, especially because Hunter Biden's legal issues continue to be a big problem, and they're nowhere near done. Attorney General Merrick Garland appeared before Congress, and he was saying things like he had no idea that there were shell companies and things like that. He has no idea what's going on with the Hunter Biden investigation. He has no idea why David Weiss and others had said before that they weren't allowed to do anything, but he still made him a special counsel anyway to allow him to do stuff. But either way, Biden's issues are just now starting, and they're starting to get worse, being the younger crackhead Hunter Biden stuff. But
recovering younger crackhead.
Recovering crackhead. Thank you, Mecca. You keep me grounded. Thank you very much. So Joe Biden saying I may not live long enough to see the end of this. Does that mean that he thinks this stuff drags out forever, or does that mean he's going to die soon?
Okay. I'm ignoring the Hunter Biden stuff and things like that. And let's focus on the fact that his age is a very big factor.
Hugely.
It's just the polling in the last week. I mean, age is one of the top subjects coming up, and it is a concern across party lines.
Yeah, you know why? It's interesting to see Joe Biden have these issues, because people say, well, Donald Trump's old and he stumbles and says weird things sometimes. But you know what? He acts like a lunatic. So he's young and he's energetic and he runs around and he says things that he doesn't.
Acts like a lunatic?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. I mean, he does. Does anyone disagree with that? I mean, I'm just saying he doesn't carry himself like an old man. I look at it like this.
That's a good point.
I mean, it's a compliment. Okay, I look at
you're a lunatic. It's a compliment.
I look at people like Biden, Kay Ivey, Donald Trump, and my mom. And I think to myself, all of them are old in very different ways, and all of them are near the same age, but they operate very differently. And it's interesting, and that's why Biden, because he is the most pronounced seemingly out of it. One, because he's the most prominent and people see him everywhere, and two, because all of his problems are on camera.
That's exactly the gaps that he is experiencing, unfortunately, with the wandering around the stage, going the wrong way, missing the hands and stuff. I mean, it just,
and then when he goes to bed
paints the picture. No matter what you can say, it's hard to argue with.
And when he goes to bed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they tell him. I mean, they do. I mean, that's it. All right, let's move on to something that happened here in the state of Alabama. Minor high school down in the Birmingham City School District. A pretty embarrassing situation. Were the cops a little heavy-handed? Maybe. Was the director of the band an idiot? Absolutely. Big problems here for him. Wandling Gavan, a state representative, has come out and taken the lead in his defense. May not be the greatest thing for him. The AEA has come out and defended him as well. But what I have found interesting is the Birmingham City School System and the Birmingham Police Department have not backed down. They have, if anything, put out statements throughout the week that imply that not only do they stand behind their officers and the decisions that are made, they're not letting up on this guy, Johnny Mims, the band director. The very first interaction they had, hey, we're going to shut this down, get out of my face. That started it all down the downhill spiral from there. Why is this blown up so much inside the state of Alabama?
I don't know, you didn't explain it very well. It was the end of a game. Okay. Right?
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming most people have an idea of what it is.
Okay.
No, I'm not. It's the end of the game. He was playing music. The other band had already stopped. They wanted him to stop and leave. He said, "Get out of my face."
There you go.
Okay.
So
why is this blown up?
Of course, I don't understand your question.
It's not a racial issue?
I didn't say, but a band director at a school event got tased. I mean, whether you agree with it or not, that's still
But you have video
noteworthy. I mean, that doesn't happen every week. Did it happen last week?
Well,
Has it happened the week before? No. This is interesting. That's why it's blown up. Whether you agree with it or not, if you think the police were heavy-handed, why has this blown up is ridiculous.
Well, because in the beginning, it was like black band director gets tased. And then you watch the video and it's like, well, everyone involved is African American. So
are you trying to make it about race? Are you saying it should be about race for it to be this big?
I'm surprised that it is blown up. Usually it would be about race in order for it to blow up. You don't think so? You think it's just because of the
band director got tased.
At football games, we have seen gunshots. We have seen people running on the field now.
You're
We've seen all these
asking why
things.
has this blown up? This didn't happen last week.
Okay,
it didn't happen the week before. This is a somewhat new angle.
Is this an issue that goes on for a while?
I mean, I think so, or until people get bored of talking to it, or until there's the next thing.
Does this guy lose his job?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, well, that is correct. We will, in fact, see. I will agree with that. We will see. I'll answer my own question. I think he loses his job. I think you've seen the Birmingham PD stand behind their guys in the school system, say basically this is not what we should be doing. And the fact that it happened in front of kids, and you have a bunch of people out there saying, oh, well, the kids were fainting out of the stands and all this other stuff. It's like, okay, calm down. We'll see where all of this goes. As Mecca says, she's right. All right, stay tuned. Jay Town will be with us. He is former district attorney from the Northern District of Alabama. We'll talk to him about that and a whole lot more. Stay tuned.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for my friends at University Kia. Now look, I love Kias. I've driven plenty of them. I used to have a Kia Sportage. When my son was born, my wife said, no, we got to get ourselves one of these big SUVs. The Telluride from University Kia is an absolutely amazing vehicle. You get it at a great price, but you get everything at University Kia at a great price. Learn more about them today. Head on over to universitykia.com. Find the perfect vehicle for you, new and pre-owned. They got it for you. universitykia.com.
Want fun, safe, intelligent fitness programming? Want to build muscular strength, cardiovascular endurance, drastically improve range of motion and mobility, and learn proper nutrition to fuel your life with energy and emotional health? Well, come find out why Iron Tribe Fitness is ranked one of the top 5 fitness programs in America. Come find out why personal training and intentionally working on your current movement patterns individually is not only important, it's just another core value that separates Iron Tribe Fitness from other fitness facilities.
To learn how to get your 2-week free pass, go to irontribefitness.com.
Well, welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. I am Dale Jackson, with me as always, Mecca Music, and our guest this week is Jay Town. He's a former U.S. attorney appointed by Donald Trump. We're going to talk about a couple national things in a moment, but I want to stay on the conversation we were having before about the band director out of Minor High School.
Because it was such a great conversation. Let's continue.
You said, of course this is something people are going to talk about. What's going to happen? A thing. So let's talk to Jay Town here real quick. Jay, if you were a prosecutor in this area and this came to you, they have a band director being tased because he wouldn't stop playing music, disorderly conduct, wouldn't follow lawful orders.
He did ask, say once we finished the song that we were playing.
Disorderly conduct, resisted when they tried to put him in cuffs. There were other people jumping in there. Do you prosecute this to the full extent of the law?
Well, I mean, there's discretion here, right? So, I mean, it's definitely prosecutable. And to Mecca, to your point, and I would always prefer to agree with you over Dale, when the police ask you to do something, there's not a, well, I'm almost done.
Right.
Or when I feel like it aspect to that command. There's a law enforcement purpose behind the command, and the command just has to be complied with. You don't even have to know why they're making such a command, like leave. Or go home or do X. There's a law enforcement purpose behind it. In this case, it's public safety of everybody in the stadium, because the quicker everybody egresses from a stadium, the less likely there is to be any type of violence. And so the band director was not compliant at all. He could have complained later if he wanted to. I don't know what the complaint would have been. He's playing to an empty stadium, but whatever. He could have complained later. But instead, he very foolishly did not comply. And if he did swing on a cop, Dale, if that's captured on any body cam that we haven't seen, well, that's a problem. That's a guy that shouldn't be around kids. He set an awful example for all of these children of how to respect authority. And what he said to the police who were there for public safety for the entire stadium was, I'm the authority, not them. We're going to keep playing. I'll be done in a minute. I don't care if you want to arrest me. I'm going to finish my song. Well, that is not how our social contract works as it relates to law enforcement. And so I was glad he was arrested. I don't know about the tasing part. I'd need to know more.
Jay, well, talking about that part, some people might feel like there could have been more common sense on both sides. Obviously, yeah, you are correct. If the police ask you to do something, they have their reasoning, and public safety is number one for that reason. But maybe some are questioning, was the tasing in front of students and all that necessary?
Well, I don't know. It may have been. If he swung on a cop, it absolutely was necessary. You know, you don't get to assault police officers just because you're a band director and there's kids around. In fact, those are 3 really good reasons not to assault police officers, right? Not to mention there's about 3 million other reasons not to assault police officers.
I agree. Let me ask you this, Jay. If you're a prosecutor in this case and the Birmingham Police Department releases that footage within a couple of days, what's that tell us? What does that tell us that they're putting that information out? It sounds to me like they think they're in the clear.
BPD does not think they've done anything wrong. BPD wants this person prosecuted. BPD wants the public to know why they did what they did so that they maintain that trust and confidence that, you know, Birmingham has in their police department to the extent that they do.
Okay, there we go. We'll learn more about that, as Mecca says, later on, so that is true. Let's talk about some of these other issues that are taking place. Hunter Biden finds himself with an indictment over a gun charge. Is that the end of this? Probably not. That was part of the sweetheart deal that went away. We'll learn more about that as well. David Weiss, he's out there doing his thing. Merrick Garland gets drugged before Congress and just gets roasted on a bunch of things. He didn't give the typical, like, oh, I don't know. I can't talk about that. He said, no, I don't know anything at all about these shell accounts and different types of justice. What are you talking about? Republicans and Democrats, powerful and powerless, all get treated the same. Just getting pummeled up there by Republicans. What did you think about this week for the DOJ? Because they're in the news every week, all week now. You got President Trump's issues, you got Biden issues, you got Hunter Biden issues. What about their week so far?
Yeah, it's a sleepy little Department of Justice, isn't it? I think that it wasn't look, if Congress is going to ask any attorney general about an ongoing investigation, they're going to get the same answer. And that's all. I only say that because that's all that they've ever got. But there are some things that I think that I would prefer to see the Attorney General be a little more forthcoming about. Like, for instance, have you ever had a conversation with anybody in the FBI about Hunter Biden's case? Well, of course. Come on. You've never said anything to anyone when whistleblowers are coming out of the woodwork from the IRS and from the Bureau about steps that should have been taken that were blocked, that there's concerns these agents had. You didn't have at least the curiosity to dial up Chris Wray and say, hey, Director Wray, if this is happening, it shouldn't be happening. Are you looking into it? Is the IG looking into it? Yes? No? Okay, fine, thank you. I mean, that at least should be the leadership that we're seeing.
And his response to that, Jay, was, I don't remember, which is almost right. Like, yeah, of course I have, but I'm not going to tell you, because he doesn't want to say no. So right. He says, I don't remember, right? I mean, that's my takeaway. Yeah, you're the lawyer, but that's basically the gist, right?
He even said it was something even pithier. I don't recall the answer to that question, right? So it's not that he didn't recall the call. It's just there was a canned answer, and he's forgotten that too, right?
So when all of this is going on and the Republicans are pounding away on this, does this make it more likely that Hunter Biden finds himself in yet another illegal issue? We can pretend all we want that there's no political pressure on this, but this thing with Hunter Biden doesn't happen if political pressure isn't put on. We know that. So they're just cranking the pressure even more. But that's not how the justice system is supposed to work. No, listen, I've been alive the last 10 years. I know how the justice system has been working lately. I know how we have seen multiple agencies inside the government weaponized, and that's what this was all about. But they're out there just cranking and cranking away, hoping they can get something out of Merrick Garland, right?
Yeah, I think so. And look, this Congress, at least this House, threatens impeachment of a number of figures. Mayorkas at DHS, Attorney General Garland, and even the president himself. So, they're developing those cases. But I think at the end of the day, what I would really like to see out of DOJ is as much transparency as possible. I still don't think Hunter Biden's ever going to spend a day behind bars. In fact, he might even have his diversion agreement upheld so that they can't even bring an actual prosecution, anyway, for the gun charge, which is by far the most serious charge. The tax evasion misdemeanors are nothing.
All right,
he's already come into tax compliance.
Let's talk about Lynn Wood, Jenna Ellis, other people in the Trump world who are allegedly cooperating in Georgia in some way, shape, or form. That's what is out there right now. Does that make Georgia more risky for Trump? I can't really see how it is, because the stuff that they claim Trump did there seems so penny-ante.
You mean more risky as opposed to like D.C.?
Well, I just mean risky in the sense that Georgia looks ridiculous. But if you've got people, the fake electors and all that stuff, people saying, okay, let me help you with this, that makes it a little harder for Donald Trump, right?
Yeah, and don't forget, whatever help they provide Fani Willis, which the reason why that's happening now is because there's an actual trial scheduled for the end of October. But that all can be used in the case against Donald Trump in the J6 prosecution by Jack Smith, special counsel for DOJ. So, whatever help, whatever testimony, whatever affidavits are submitted in sort of favor of a given defendant or co-conspirator, that will be used in all of these prosecutions. And so that's something there's no compartmentalization of somebody saying Donald Trump told me to get fake electors. Let's just say that was the case. That'll be used in both of those prosecutions.
Jay, there was a new poll, or a recent poll that came out that said Biden would beat, I think it was by 7 points, would beat Trump if he was convicted. Do you think that's the future? That's the future going forward?
Wow. I mean, I don't see him being convicted before we're all in Wisconsin choosing who the next nominee for the Republican Party is going to be. No, I don't. I just can't imagine that the pace would get to, would beat July. So I don't think so, Mecca. I think people are going to have to make their judgment about whatever is in the indictment and whatever evidence about those indictments they might tend to believe, and whether or not they want to sort of endure the chaos that is surrounding one candidate, perhaps versus others. And clearly some do, and I understand it, because Donald Trump stands for a lot of things that people don't like about government, and he always has. But at the same time, I mean, if given the choice of voting for a candidate that's been indicted 4 times versus a guy who hasn't, and maybe has the same sort of policy aspirations, that seems pretty easy to me.
Yeah, and whether he's convicted 10 times or 91 times, it doesn't matter. They need to get one, and they can say convicted candidate, Donald Trump, all that stuff. Last question here. The Mar-a-Lago thing, we're hearing about instructions given on Post-it notes, like commit crimes, and then sign Donald Trump. Yeah, they talk about that kind of stuff. Does that seem like a more of a slam dunk now?
I've always thought the Mar-a-Lago case, Dale, and we've talked about this in your radio show, it was the most serious case of all of the 4. Alvin Bragg's case in Manhattan's a joke. Fani Willis herself is a joke. Jack Willis is a serious guy. I'm still not convinced the J6 cases are good. But boy, the obstruction of justice in the cases in Mar-a-Lago, along with sort of the strict liability of just having national defense information in your possession, which there are 31 counts there, to me, that's the easiest case to prove. I don't even think that's a 2-week-long trial after you get done with jury selection, because those cases seem so easy, and you can bet that Walt Nauta and others once Trump stops paying for their lawyer, they are going to find themselves on the other side of the dais testifying against Donald Trump to get themselves the deal.
All this legal stuff happening right in the middle of an election should be a lot of fun. And we'll hear from Jay.
Those are great insights. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Jay. We'll talk with him a lot, I'm sure, moving forward. Former U.S. Attorney Jay Town, thank you very much for that. All right, Becca's leaving. She's taking her great insight with her. And I will bring you some more of my great insight when we return for a party shot. Stay tuned.
Want fun, safe, intelligent fitness programming? Want to build muscular strength, cardiovascular endurance, drastically improved range of motion and mobility, and learn proper nutrition to fuel your life with energy and emotional health? Well, come find out why Iron Tribe Fitness is ranked one of the top 5 fitness programs in America. Come find out why personal training and intentionally working on your current movement patterns individually is not only important, it's just another core value that separates Iron Tribe Fitness from other fitness facilities.
To learn how to get your 2-week free pass, go to irontribefitness.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for my friends at University Kia. Now look, I love Kias. I've driven plenty of them. I used to have a Kia Sportage. When my son was born, my wife said, no, we got to get ourselves one of these big SUVs. The Telluride from University Kia is an absolutely amazing vehicle. You get it at a great price, but you get everything at University Kia at a great price. Learn more about them today. Head on over to universitykia.com. Find the perfect vehicle for you, new and pre-owned. They got it for you. universitykia.com.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who've helped people that have been injured or wronged. Have you been diagnosed with cancer? Do you use pesticides in your job, specifically Roundup? Then keep watching for details on how you could be compensated for the damages done to your health. Roundup, made by Monsanto, contains a chemical called glyphosate, which has been linked to cancer. If you've used Roundup and you have cancer, you may be entitled to a cash award. Over $10 billion has been set aside to pay users of Roundup who've been diagnosed with cancer. Time is almost running out to file your claim. So if you've been diagnosed with cancer and you've used Roundup, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. We're here 24/7 to help, and time to file is almost gone, so please call right now.
Well, welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. I am Dale Jackson. Thank you very much for being here. We'll get to the 2-minute warning here in We'll get to the party shot here in 2 seconds. First, let me tell you about my friends over there at YellowHammerNews.com. Go there, sign up for my email blast, the 7 things you should be talking about today. And every single day, Monday through Friday, you'll learn about the 7 things you should be talking about that day. And you stay at YellowHammerNews.com. You can watch my videos and all sorts of other things going on there as well. YellowHammerNews.com. But right now, let's go ahead and get to that party shot. My party shot this week is directed at everyone who is making a big deal about the dress code in the United States Senate, including myself. We are missing the true story here. Yes, the dress code was changed so people could dress like slobs in the halls of the United States Senate. Yes, it was done for John Fetterman out of Pennsylvania. And yes, it is an embarrassment. But we're missing part of the story here. Katie Britt, Alabama's junior senator, a Republican from Montgomery. She is one of 3 Republican senators who did not sign on to a request to Chuck Schumer to change the dress code back. Why? I'm not so sure, but it may have something to do with the fact that she and Fetterman, and there have been stories written about this, get along pretty well from their early days there. They had offices next to each other, and they were very kind to each other by all accounts, and they still are somewhat friendly. I'm assuming that's what this was about. If it's something else, I don't know what it is, but I have a way that Katie Britt can go out and absolutely make the point that this change doesn't need to happen if she believes that. Cosplay as John Fetterman. Dress as John Fetterman one day on the floor of the United States Senate. That would drive the point home that everyone should do this and it should be fine. I don't think that's going to happen. Katie Britt, I imagine, will keep the decorum in the history there in the Senate just fine. And I think that maybe she should ask Chuck Schumer to change the rules back, but apparently she's not going to. There you go, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching Alabama Politics this week, and we will talk to you next week.